Welcome to Sage Magnolia Wellness. My name is Tiara, but you can go ahead and call me T. I'll be guiding you through this 25-minute, approximately, audio vinyasa yoga flow. Let's start on our mat in easy pose. We'll have our left leg in front of our right, and we want to be sure to come up and out of that lower back here. We're going to start with our lion's breath. So that's long inhales through the nose and even longer exhales through the mouth. So imagine you're fogging a mirror with your lion's breath. Great. Let's do a few more of those at our own pace. From here, let's start to take long inhales through the nose and even longer exhales through the nose. Long inhales through the nose and even longer exhales through the nose. And we'll do a few more of those at our own pace. Great. Let's start to roll our shoulders going in one direction. And then we'll pause and center and start to go the other direction. Great. Let's pause and center. Next, we're going to come into the seated twist pose. We're going to start on the left side. So let's lift that left knee up and place it over the right. And then we're going to twist our torso towards the left side of the room. We'll hold here for some breaths. Great. Let's pause and center. We'll come back to easy pose. We'll bring our right leg in front of the left. From here, we'll start to roll our shoulders going in one direction. We'll pause and center and start to roll our shoulders the other direction. Great. From here, we'll come into the seated twist on the right side. We'll bring that right knee up and over the left and then twist our torso towards the right side of the room. We'll hold here for some breaths. Great. Let's recenter and come back into easy pose. From easy pose, let's go ahead and bring our hands out in front of us and place them onto our mat. We're going to bring our knees behind us to come into this tabletop position. In this tabletop position, we do want to make sure our hands are shoulder width distance apart. We want to draw that belly button in and up. We'll take a few breaths here, long inhales through the nose and even longer exhales through the nose. From here, we'll come into our cow cat. So to come into cow, we're going to inhale, drop our belly, take our gaze up to the sky. And then we'll exhale, round and curl, coming into cat. Inhale, drop our belly, take our gaze up to the sky for cow. And then we'll exhale, round and curl as we come into cat. We'll do that a few times at our own pace. Great. From here, we're going to lift our left knee up off the mat and extend our leg out straight. From here, we're going to round and curl that bended knee into our abdomen, and then we'll extend it back out straight. We're going to do that 8 times. So round and curl into the abdomen, and then kick that leg back out straight. Round and curl that knee into the abdomen, kick it back out straight. Let's do that 6 more times at our own pace. Great. Let's pause and center, keeping that left leg lifted off the mat. Your left leg is lifted and extended out straight on your mat. So that means for this next pose, which is the kneeling bow pose, you're going to press into your left hand, making sure you feel balanced there. And if it's in your practice and when you're ready, you're going to lift up your right hand, reach back to grab that left foot to come into the kneeling bow pose. We'll hold here for 8 breaths. Great. Let's recenter and come back into the tabletop position. We'll take a few breaths here. Long inhales through the nose, longer exhales through the nose. Great. Now let's do that on the right side. We're going to lift that right knee off the mat and extend the leg out straight. When you're ready, we're going to round and curl and do knee to abdomen. We're going to do that 8 times. So leg is extended out straight. You'll round and curl, bringing that knee into the abdomen and then extend it back out straight. Round and curl, knee into abdomen and then extend it out straight. Let's do that 6 more times at our own pace. Great. When you're ready, go ahead and pause and center. You're going to keep that right leg lifted up off the mat and extend it out straight. Now, if you did it on the other side, you're going to want to do it on this side as well. Pressing into your right hand, making sure you feel balanced. You're going to lift your left hand off your mat. Reach back with that left hand to grab the right toes to come into this kneeling bow pose. We'll hold here for 8 breaths. Great. Let's pause and center. We'll come back into tabletop. Great. From this tabletop position, we're going to come into child's pose. So thrusting our hips back and down onto our mat, taking a resting position. If it is in your practice, I invite you to offer your forehead a massage on your mat as you are resting in this child's pose. Let's hold here for 8 breaths. When you're ready, let's come back up into tabletop position. Go ahead and tuck your toes and then thrust your hips up and back to come into downward facing dog. When you get to downward facing dog, you can go ahead and pedal it out. From downward facing dog, we'll walk our hands towards the back of our mat to come into forward fold. We'll inhale, halfway lift, coming into flat back into this halfway lift. And then we're going to exhale, forward fold, and see if we can go a little bit deeper, taking our gaze towards the back of the room. We'll inhale, Tadasana, take our arms up to the sky to mountain pose. Great. Now in this mountain pose, you do want to come up and out of that lower back. You can draw your belly button in and up to see if that does help you come out of the lower back. When you're ready, we're going to swan dive, come back into forward fold. We'll inhale, halfway lift. We'll exhale, come into our vinyasa flow. That's the high plank, the low plank, the upward facing dog, and then we'll thrust our hips up and back to come into downward facing dog. We'll pedal it out once we get to downward facing dog. Great. If you're pedaling it out in downward facing dog, go ahead and pause and center. When you're ready, walk your feet towards the front of your mat to come into forward fold. We'll inhale, halfway lift. We'll exhale, forward fold, and see if we can go a little bit deeper, taking that gaze towards the back of the room. We'll inhale to mountain pose, taking our arms to the sky, drawing that belly button in and up. Tadasana ready. We'll take our arms by our side. That was a great warm-up. Now for this next flow, you have the option to take your arms back up to the sky to mountain pose. You can bring your hands to heart center, or you can place your hands on your lower back so the thumbs are facing outwards. Imagine if you were putting your hands in your back pockets. I'm going to place my hands on my back as if they're in pockets. From here, we're going to come into a gentle back bend. So when you're ready, lift your head, drop your chin. We'll come back into the mountain pose. Long inhales through the nose, longer exhales through the nose. We'll do that again. So again, I'm taking my hands to my lower back as if they're in my back pockets, and then I'm going to offer myself a gentle back bend. When you're ready, lift your head, drop your chin. We'll come back into mountain pose. When you're ready, if your arms aren't there already, take your arms back to the sky to mountain pose. We're going to swan dive, come back into forward fold. We'll inhale, halfway lift. We'll forward fold to come into that vinyasa flow again. So that's the high plank, the low plank, the upward facing dog, and then we'll thrust our hips up and back to come into downward facing dog. We'll pedal it out again when we get to downward facing dog. Great work. If you're pedaling it out in downward facing dog, go ahead and pause and center. You're going to lift that left leg up off the mat to come into 3-point downward facing dog. We're going to do knee to nose 3 times. So round and curl, knee to nose 1. Extend that leg out, back straight. Round and curl, knee to nose 2. One more time. Extend that leg out straight. Round and curl, knee to nose 3. This third time, we're going to step through, come into our high crescent lunge. So for this high crescent lunge, our left leg is forward and our knee is stacked over our ankle. The right leg is back and that foot is going to be up off the mat. Again, we're drawing the belly button in and up to see if we can come out of that lower back. Let's take a few breaths here. Long inhales through the nose and longer exhales through the nose. Now, when you're ready, and if it's in your practice, we're going to offer ourselves a gentle back bend here as well. Now, again, am going to take my hands to my lower back to do this gentle back bend. You have the option to keep your arms extended to the sky. You can bring your hands to heart center, or you can also put your hands on your lower back if that's your preference as well. So when you're ready, we'll come into a gentle back bend in this high crescent lunge position. When you're ready, lift your head, drop your chin. We'll come back into high crescent lunge. When you're ready, pressing into that left foot, you're going to bring that right leg up off the mat and come into the warrior 3 position. That back raised leg, the thigh does have to be engaged as well as your core for this position. Take your drishti, that's your gaze, beyond your mat, right? So you're looking downwards, but take that gaze beyond the mat to find your balance here. Great. When you're ready, go ahead and drop that right raised leg back down onto your mat to come back into high crescent lunge. From high crescent lunge, we're going to come into the high plank. So take your hands onto your mat, and then you're going to press into your hands and take that left leg back to come into plank. We're using plank as a transition. We'll thrust our hips up and backwards to come into downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, we're going to raise that right leg up. And then from here, we're going to round and curl knee to nose 3 times on the right side. Do that at your own pace. On your third knee to nose, you're going to round and curl and then step through to come into that high crescent lunge. This time, the right knee will be forward bent, and then that knee will be stacked over the ankle. The left leg will be back with that left foot raised up off of the mat. We're going to come up and out of that lower back by drawing our belly button in and up. We'll do long inhales through the nose and long exhales through the nose. When you're ready, we're going to offer ourselves a gentle back bend here as well. So when you're ready, Great. Lift your head and drop your chin. We'll come back into that high crescent lunge. Stepping into that right foot, making sure you're balanced. You're going to lift that left leg up and off the mat, coming into warrior three, making sure the thigh is engaged. And again, the core has to be engaged for this asana to work. Great. Go ahead and drop that left leg down back onto the mat, coming into the high crescent lunge. From high crescent lunge, we're going to come into the low lunge. So let's bring that left knee down onto the mat to come into low lunge. We are going to take our hands down to our mat to frame that front right foot. Now from here, we're going to come into half pigeon. And we're going to take that back left leg out straight. It's down on our mat now, and then the toes will be face down. You can forward fold your chest onto your mat in this half pigeon position if it is in your practice. We're going to be here for about another 20 seconds. You can stay as you are, or you can come into the king pigeon. So press into your hands, lift your chest if you're going to come into the king pigeon. You're going to lift your left feet so they are facing the ceiling, and then you'll reach back with your right hand to grab that foot to come into the king pigeon. We'll be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and release that leg back down onto the mat. From this half pigeon position, you're going to tuck the back toes of that leg that's out straight. You're going to press into your hands, lift the chest, and then you're going to take that right leg back and thrust your hips up to come into downward facing dog. You can pedal it out when you get to downward facing dog. Great. Now, if you're pedaling it out, go ahead and pause in center. You're going to lift that left leg up off the mat to come into 3-point downward facing dog. You're going to round and curl and step through to come into that low lunge, bringing that right knee down onto the mat. We're going to come into half pigeon on this side. So bringing your hands onto your mat, you're going to frame that front foot and then come into half pigeon. That right leg will be out straight with the toes face down. And again, you can forward fold your chest over your mat if it is in your practice, and you can come down that far. We'll be here for about 20 seconds. Now you can stay as you are in the half pigeon position, or you can press into your hands to come into the king pigeon on this side. So pressing into your hands, you'll lift your chest. That right leg that's extended out straight will come up so it's bent at the knee, and then the right foot will face the ceiling. You'll reach back with your left hand to grab somewhere around the right ankle or the top of the right foot. We'll hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and release that hand down onto the mat and then that leg back out straight. So back in this half pigeon pose, we're going to press into our hands and then we're going to swing that right leg to the front to meet the left. We'll come back into easy pose. In this easy pose, again, let's come up and out of that lower back. We're going to do our lion's breath again here. So long inhales through the nose, and then we'll do longer exhales through the mouth. Great. We'll do long inhales through the nose, and then we'll do long exhales through the nose. My name is T. I want to thank you so much for joining me for this vinyasa flow today. For this last part, I invite you to stay in easy pose using it as a meditative state. You have the option to stay in that meditative state silent, or you can om along to this last track. Thanks again. After your practice, leave a comment and let me know what you thought. See you soon.